what's up guys? We're gonna shake things up a bit and turn Mondays into Mobility Monday with Miranda. So today's episode is going to focus on the wrists and the core. So if you feel that you have troubles in any of those areas, I highly recommend you continuing on with this video and see how your body responds to these exercises. So we're gonna start super simple. So go ahead and find yourself a space. It doesn't need to be very much. And since we have been home a lot, and I'm sure a lot of us have been working from home and being keyboard warriors, texting warriors, we have a lot of wrist and finger issues. If a lot of us tend to get stiff, arthritis, sometimes depending upon what we're eating, we can retain a lot of water, causing a lot of fluid retention in the hands. So I want to show you guys what I like to do to get my wrist nice and ready for the day, especially for my hobbies that I like to do. I have a lot of physical activities that require me to actually be upside down, and I love to be upside down. So putting a lot of pressure on my wrist, and I also do a lot of computer work. So my wrists are super healthy. They used to be really kinked and they used to hurt a lot. But these exercises help a lot to alleviate a lot of pain and bring awareness to whenever I have any issues in the wrists, I can take care of it right away before the pain gets out of control. Okay, so what I need you to do is go ahead and get onto your knees if you can. If you cannot, go ahead and put a pillow underneath them. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna warm up the wrists. So go ahead, I'm gonna turn to the side so you can see me. So we're gonna warm up the wrist by just going forward and back. Now when our wrists are on the floor, or when our hands are on the floor, excuse me, you want to think of them as suction cups. So do you see how my fingers are kind of cupping the ground? And then when we pull ourselves back, we're not just moving our hips back, we're using our fingers to pull ourselves back. Do you feel that? So we're gonna go for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, push 3, 2, and 1. Good job. Gonna mold that around there. Okay, so going back down onto all fours, I like to turn my hands in this way, fingers towards your knees, and we're gonna go in circles for 3. There's 3, and opposite way, 3, 2, 1. Good job. And come back. Now we're gonna make a fist. So just like this, you see these little cinnamon buns here. I'll kind of turn this way so you can see. So you can do it one wrist at a time. You see how my wrist is kind of kinking over here? You can go one wrist at a time or dual and do it at both, okay? So we'll do the first set single, okay, for 3, 3, 2, 1, now dual, 3, 2, 1, single, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1. Good job. And roll them out. Very nice. Okay, so this next one is for our fingers. Okay, so we're gonna get back down onto our hands and we're gonna pick up our fingers. I know this is gonna look a little weird, but I love this. I give this activity to my athletes. You're gonna pick up your finger and you're gonna let your finger bounce back down onto the ground. You'll feel a nice pull in the arm there. So 3 rounds of that. Very good, keep going. I'm on my last one. Very good, and switch. Pick up your pinky, ring, finger, middle, pointer, thumb, pinky, ring, middle, pointer, and last one, pinky, ring, pointer, and done. Good. You should feel a really good release in those wrists and those fingers already. Okay, so then for this next one, we're going to strengthen up our wrists and our forearms by doing flicks. So we're gonna flick the fingers forward. So you wanna think that you're flicking water off of your fingers. So we're gonna do this for 30 seconds. Ready, and begin. Here we go. You're gonna feel a really good burn in that forearm. Whew, here we got 10 seconds down. You got it. Really flick across the room. Almost there. 5, flick, 4, 3, 2, 1, shake it out. Good job. Oh my goodness. Roll those wrists around. Look at what space we brought into our wrists. Isn't that amazing? Okay, so next up, we're gonna explore the wrist in CARS, which is controlled articulate rotation. So we're going to take our wrist into circular motions. So we're going to make our hand flat, elbow inside. We want our forearm to be facing up. It helps if you put your hand on your forearm to keep it steady. And we're gonna draw the fingers up. We're gonna draw a big circle. You should feel kinks and little sticky spots perhaps. We're gonna go 3 in each direction, okay? So then this was 3, and switch. Good. Ooh, one more. Ooh, I have been at the computer a little bit much. Okay, shake it out. Okay, notice the difference between the two. This one is super, I would say exhausted, but it feels really good and fluid, and you feel that your joints have space in between. So let's go ahead and do this one. Turn the forearm up, hold that arm in place, bring those fingers up, and give me a good circle to the right or left. That is 1, 2, and 3. Good job. Switch. Opposite way. 1, 2, and 3. Good job. Shake it out. Good job. Now when you come back to this and you do this routine again, make sure that your whole body is nice and taut. So when you're holding that arm in, you want to be nice and tight, and the only thing that is moving is the wrist. So you're actually flexing your biceps, you're flexing those feet and legs into the ground. Your core is nice and tight and engaged. So we want to make sure the rotation only happens at the wrist and everything else is tight. So let's go ahead and do one more round of that, and then we are going to move on to our next series. So let's go ahead and get everything nice and tight, lats back and down, squeeze those biceps, and only in the wrist does the motion happen. So this round should be a little bit more engaged. You're able to put your mind more so into what's going on in the wrist. And when you do that, that is called your proprioceptive nerves in our brain connected to the part of our body we're working on. So that's what brings self-awareness. That's what I want to bring to you, is to help teach you self-awareness throughout the entire body, working one area at a time. So go ahead and get nice and tight. Flex those biceps, flex those feet into the ground, grab that arm, pull those fingers up. Give me some good circles here. One side, and 3. Ooh, did you hear that pop? And another side. Popping is good. We want to hear popping. That is a sign of we're getting those joints moved around in the right way. Good. And shake it out. Nice job. All right, guys, so this is going to be our last wrist exercise before we move on to a little bit of core workout. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna still maintain that nice taut body, and we're going to keep the arm to the side. If you can see, you want your forearm to be facing outward, nice and taut, and you're going to drag the wrist forward, and then you're gonna curl the fingers in. You see that? You're gonna curl the fingers in, squeezing at the wrist, and then you're gonna open up the fingers. Okay, that was one. Then we're gonna drag the wrist back, curl those fingers in, taut, tight body. Curl and move the wrist up, 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 up. Open those fingers. 2. Should be burning in those wrists and the arm, the forearm especially. Curl those fingers in, squeeze. It's almost like you're resisting the pull, and then open up those fingers. Relax. Oh my gosh, that one gets me every time. Okay, so let's move on to the left arm. Make sure your body is nice and taut. And you're gonna take that forearm, make sure it's facing out to the side. Go ahead and turn that hand in, nice and tight in the wrist. Curl those fingers in and pull, 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 pull. Like you have an imaginary rope that you're pulling, and now you're opening up. Now drag those wrists forward, those fingers forward, excuse me. Grab onto that rope, that imaginary rope, and pull the heaviest thing you can think of. Pull, 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 pull. Good. Open, 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 open. Tight body. Last one. Drag those fingers forward. Curl those fingers in. Grab that imaginary rope and pull, 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 pull. And open. Good. And relax. Good job. All right. So check out those wrists. See how much more mobility there is in these wrists in the area where usually everything seems super tight. We just created movement, and we created more liquid in that area so that it doesn't become so calcified. A lot of people have wrist issues because they're stuck in this position all day long and they don't move them around. All right, so let's move on to some core, and then we will be all good for the day. All right, for our core, we're gonna start in plank. So go ahead and get yourself into position, and we're gonna do shoulder taps. So we're gonna come up here to plank. Make sure that your booty is not sticking up. We want a nice flat line. And you see how my scapulas, these are my scaps back here, are nice and rounded. We don't have any protruding, sticking out scaps. We wanna push into the floor, hips tucked under. If you can't hold this position, you're more than welcome to get up onto your knees and cross the feet. Okay, so from here, you're going to tap your shoulder without swaying the hips. A lot of times when we do shoulder taps, our hips end up swaying. So make sure that our hips are staying still. So we're gonna go ahead and do 10 of those. 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 5. For this last 5, I'm gonna get up on my feet. 6, 6, 7, 7, 8, 8, 9, 9, 10, 10, and hold. Squeeze the glutes, draw the belly button up to the spine, and rock your feet back and forth. So you're gonna draw yourself forward and back. Remember in the beginning, when we were leaning back and forth, we're going to squeeze our fingers into the mat as we draw ourselves back, okay? For 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, use those fingers, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Slowly come down. Good, and go ahead and push those hips back and go into child's pose if you need to. Forehead on the ground, take a deep breath in, deep breath out. Good job. And go ahead and come up to tabletop. We're gonna tuck those toes under, and this is called loaded beast. So what we're gonna do is get those knees just barely off the floor here. Hold 30 for 30 seconds. Here we go. Good job. Get that belly button in. Rotate the hips under. Make sure our hips are not scooping out. Here we go. 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9. Get close to the floor, but don't touch. 5, 4, 3, 2. Use your fingers. 1 and down. Anytime your hands are on the floor and you're putting any pressure onto those hands or wrists, we need to get those fingers suction cupped into the floor. And if you have any wrist problems, that will solve a lot of your weight bearing issues, is just by taking those fingers and digging into the floor. Okay? All right, so go ahead and get onto your knees for our last ab set, and we're gonna be working on our obliques. So this is a really good exercise. It's one of my favorites. So we're gonna stick one leg out. Our 5 toes are gonna be facing forward, and we wanna make this line, you see my head down to my foot has a scoop. What we want is a nice long and elongated line. So you see how my hand and my foot are now in line with each other. So this is what I want you to get to. Okay, so we're gonna take this bottom hand and we're gonna bring it, we're gonna externally rotating it, meaning our thumb is going to drive outward, and we're gonna pull the arm up, fingers point to the floor, and I want you to stretch across to the corner of the room, and then this hand that's sticking forward is going to stretch to the forward of the room. Chin is going to be tucked in, head nice and long, and we're gonna hold this here for 15. This is kind of a hard one to talk at the same time. Here we go. Stretch those arms, flat hand, go, go, go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Your hand forward, come down first. Top hand, come down second. Slowly come back up to the top. Deep breath in, deep breath out. You should really feel those obliques fire up with that. Okay, let's go ahead and switch sides. Turn that foot forward, toes forward there, and take that scoop and make it nice and long. Get that arm all the way up, stretch the corner of the room, and then we're going to take our bottom hand, we're going to externally rotate, and we're going to drive it forward. Tuck that chin in, long head, drive the hand forward, drive the top hand to the corner of the room. Deep breath in, and pull and push. Get nice and long. There we go, there we go. Push that palm forward. 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10. Come on, stretch. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bottom hand comes down first. Top hand comes down second. And sit up nice and slow. Deep breath in, deep breath out. All right, that's it for our workout for today. It looks like it's super simple if you were to just watch it, but when you participate, it's a horse of a different color. Super challenging, so I hope you guys have found some relief in the wrist. Go ahead and work on your wrist activity every day to keep those wrists nice and healthy. And core work is super important to help stabilize our lower back, and especially our obliques. Our obliques help us in our twisting motion and even in our walking. Did you know that when we walk, our obliques are also engaged? So be aware of when you are walking, if you are using your obliques and your shoulder girdle going from side to side. It's really fascinating to bring awareness to parts of our bodies that have potentially fallen asleep. So you guys have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you next time. Bye.